Greetings to my fellow friends and my dear lecturer, Dr. Chu. My name is Farhana and today's forecast is an oncoming poster. Alright, so I will introduce you to the effects compost has on soil. Okay, so in order to start, I will tell you what is compost. Compost is discarded organic material which decomposes with the help of natural decomposers. Okay, this is different as to when we discard our organic waste into bins, which eventually end up in landfills and decompose with the absence of oxygen, leading to methane emissions. Okay, so in order to reduce methane emissions, we can start composting. There are many benefits of composting, but in order to find one of them is improving plant growth and soil quality. And to find out more about this, we will find out more about this throughout the poster.
Good morning to Dr. Chiu and my fellow classmates. Today, I'm going to talk about the 6 factors that can affect the composting process. First is the concentration of carbon and nitrogen in the organic material. The ratio of the carbon and the nitrogen must be 30:1 because if the concentration of nitrogen is higher than this, it may cause some nitrogen is not needed for the process of compost. So it may react with the air to produce ammonia gas, which can be very smelly. However, if the concentration of the nitrogen is lower than this, it may also cause the nitrogen to have lesser for the microorganism, which can cause the microorganism grow slower, and the process of the compost will become longer. Second is the volume of the material being used. If we use large amount of material to make compost, it may take a longer time. However, if we use lesser amount of material, it may take a shorter time to make a compost. Third is the process of aeration. What is aeration, you may ask? Aeration is a type of process to let the air come into the compost, which can cause the process of the compost to become shorter. Fourth is the moisture content within the pulp. If the moisture is at lower level inside the pulp, the activity of the microorganism inside the compost will become limited. And if the moisture is very high level inside the pulp, it may cause the process to become anaerobic, and it may produce very bad smelling. The fifth factor is the surface area of the pulp and the particle being used. If the surface area of the pulp and the surface area and the particle, if you have bigger space for the microorganism to decompose it, so the process of making a compost will be faster. The last factor that can affect the composting process is the temperature of the pulp. If the temperature is very high, it may cause the temperature inside the pulp to die quickly. However, if the temperature inside the pulp is very low, it also may cause the process of the making a compost will be longer. So the optimal temperature to make a compost is between 40 to 70 Celsius. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, teachers and friends. For my part, I'll be talking about the discussion of the experiment as you look into the factors that might and are affecting the composting process. First off, to start things out, we will start by talking about the concentration of carbon and nitrogen in the organic material. Due to it needing the correct amount of energy which is produced by carbon and the correct amount of protein products which are produced by nitrogen. Secondly, the volume of the material being composted. As you all know, it will make a big difference because much more surface area means that it will have larger volume, which will allow it to decompose much more quicker and more efficiently compared to the one with the lesser surface area, which means it has lesser volume, so that it has really less space to work on. Moving on to aeration and the moisture content from the pile. Aeration content is useful in terms of reducing high initial moisture content in the composting process. So what would high initial moisture content offer? Well, it produces anaerobic reaction from waterlogging, which would stop and halt all ongoing composting processes. And last but not least, the temperature of the pile, which would increase the rate of composting as much more energy is produced due to the high amount of heat which is present during that time. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
I shall now explain the methodology of making homemade compost. Making compost needs ingredients, and we can roughly divide these ingredients into different groups. Here we tag them as browns and greens. Browns generally come from garden waste, whereas greens comprise food leftover and kitchen waste. Water is needed to make the compost moist, and this is to facilitate the progress of decay and decomposition of the compost. Now, let us look at the steps. Firstly, find a suitable compost bin and place it at a dry and shady area. There should also be water supply nearby since water is needed for compost. After that, we proceed to the second step. Gather all browns and greens materials, chop them smaller, spray water on them. Just like the mold illustrated below, greens and browns are stacked up alternately. As for fruits and vegetables trash, we can bury them under 10 inches of compost with grass clippings on top. The final step involves covering the compost with a piece of canvas. When the compost appears dark and have a rich bottom, it is considered ready. And this usually takes up to 2 to 6 months. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Food wastage is a big problem for society, and my friend said it and I'll say it again. We make compost to fix problems. Just throw in a few vegetable scraps and call it a day. Come back in a few weeks and you get free fertilizers. Who would want free natural fertilizers? Am I right? Okay, and I hope you all enjoy our poster presentation, and I hope you all learned something new today. Bye bye.